So yeah, you recognize her. It's Darby Brown. By the way, this is complete BS. I'm now sitting here in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm surrounded by desert everywhere. And this is your home. Well, not really, Phoenix area, right?
Couple
But now,
hours south, but yeah, yeah,
yeah, and so now you're in Atlanta right now,
right.
getting ready for a college football playoff showdown.
Yeah, against Arizona State, Texas and Arizona State. So there's lots of Arizona overlaps right now. But yeah, we're really, the schedules were crazy, but we found a time, so it's
We
great.
did find a time, and I can't thank you enough, Darby. I know you're super busy. You've transitioned now. You're in Austin. You're covering the Longhorns. It's like a really good spot for me. It's cool because you're kind of like my Texas insider now. It's perfect. I don't have to go out of my way, which is great.
Yeah, it's great.
So I mentioned Mercedes Benz. Like this is it right there. Like you're in Atlanta. Quick vibe check for me.
Yeah, well, on the city, it's about 20 degrees warmer than it was when we were here 3 weeks ago. So that is getting some points in my book. Again, being from Arizona, it was way too cold, but it's cool. It's definitely like this has way more of the week-long activities, the fanfare. You feel like the bowl game atmosphere, whereas we were just here a few weeks ago for the SEC championship. So it was kind of a different setup for that. More people kind of in and out for the game. Definitely people are around and ready to experience this historic playoff situation that's happening in Atlanta.
Give me some context because you're covering now one of the most elite college football programs in the history of the world. What has that been like for you? Is there pressure that comes with that? Is there a greater sense of responsibility?
I think for me, I feel that just by how many people cover this team, how many, there's just so many websites, so many writers, just the national attention that Texas gets. So it is like there's just a lot of eyeballs on this team, and rightfully so right now because they're very good right now. I think, there's years where they get a lot of attention and it's not the same type of deal, but definitely, you do feel. I don't know if I would say I feel more responsibility or anything because I feel like I took a lot of responsibility in what I was doing in Waco, but you
Yeah.
definitely do feel like you're a smaller fish in a bigger pond for sure. Like there's just a lot of people involved in this. So it's cool in a way. It's definitely cool, but it's different.
As far as like being in Austin covering the Longhorns, did you have like a welcome to Texas football moment when you were like,
Well,
wow, this is like I'm standing right
yeah.
next to Matthew McConaughey or
Yeah.
you know?
My first two games were the Texas OU game. And so the Red River Showdown, which was, Oklahoma's kind of having a down year. So that wasn't maybe what it has been in the past. But still, the fanfare of it, all that stuff is pretty,
It was
I would
early
say,
enough in the
unique.
season too. Like there
Yeah,
was
like
just enough hype.
who
Yeah.
knows? Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just the site, the teams coming in, just the fans, the whole thing was the split down the middle. So that was fun to experience. And then my second game was the Georgia game. So that was my first to home game for Texas. So that was a circus. I mean, it really was. It was just like, well, you know me, I'm a huge Suns fan. The Suns like starting five was on the sideline. So that was crazy. I mean, Devin Booker was out there. So that was pretty cool. But
It's
yeah,
got to be surreal.
yeah, no, that was definitely surreal. I think that game was definitely like, wow, this is big time, especially because it was F1 weekend. It was just like the celebrities were there. And yeah, multiple times I've turned around and been like shoulder to shoulder with McConaughey or Glenn Powell. Those are like the regulars now, but definitely, yeah, and you feel like you're like TMZ, but you got to get the content. So, yeah, so that's kind of a funny part of
How
the
does
job.
how does a young woman like yourself just totally like operate around superstars like Glenn Powell and Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, well, people were teasing me because that it is like you're like, whoa, they're right here, and they're like the people that are around it are like, yeah, they come to every game, like you'll get used to it, and that kind of is true. Like the first time I was like, oh my gosh, like I said, I turn around, he's right
There's
there,
so much.
and then it. Oops, sorry, Pete, hold on. I think
Yeah, I
we're
lost you for 1 second.
yeah, sorry, go back.
Okay.
You can
No,
continue
no,
your
no, no.
question.
Go. So you were telling a story. I said, how do you like behave around that?
you just do your job. But definitely the first time I was a little starstruck, and then you get used to it. You're like, all right, they come to all the games. It is what it is, but it makes it fun. I mean, it's definitely like you could just tell people are, McConaughey gets the crowd involved, all that stuff. Like it's a lot of fun to be around.
Have you had any run-ins with like the Orange Bloods, or are people online talking about the new young woman covering Texas sports?
Yeah, I think some people at first were like, well, I've had a lot of people when I've seen them at the games and stuff, they've actually known me as the Baylor girl, like the
Yeah,
person that
because
covered
that's how
Baylor.
hardcore they are.
Yeah, and so they're like, "Weren't you in Waco?" And I'm like, "Yeah," so that's kind of funny. I feel like I'm going to be identified as the Waco Baylor person for a while, but which is fair. I was there for 5 years, and I was in the middle of all of that. But so that is kind of funny to see how people still kind of identify me with that beat. But it's just there's a lot of people covering this team, and so you kind of just gotta do what you can to get your foot in here and kind of get to work. So that's what I've been trying to do.
Well, and that's a special part of you and who you are. You do a great job of forging these relationships, and you've already got contacts, and you'll just get more and more. It's kind of cool watching the whole thing grow. For today's conversation, of course, that's why I'm not in news anymore, Darbs. I buried the lead. Like, we're talking about, you got to go with the new stuff first. This game, you're in Atlanta. 12 and a half points is a lot of points. Texas, they're favored by 12 and a half. Arizona State, feisty, coming off a bye. What kind of insight are you picking up around this game?
I think, Kennedy Dillingham, he just came out and said it. I think maybe it was even worse at the time, like 13 and a half. And he just said, we're a 14-point underdog, and rightfully so. And he's like, rightfully so. He's excited to see how his guys will match up. But when you look at Texas and what they put on tape, it's hard to not probably put them with that much of an advantage. But Texas, I mean, Texas is coming in. They've had some ups and downs. Their defense is unbelievable. I think that's probably where this comes into. It's just their defense is so strong. And Arizona State, they have that, Cam Scatterbo, an incredible running back, but that's their whole thing, really. I mean, so Texas is against him, and that's I think where people are like, Texas will handle him. Now we'll see if that's true, but I think that's kind of what it's come down to, is that it's one Superman versus a really, really strong team. And that's not to say Arizona State doesn't have awesome players. They do, and they actually have 6 former Texas players on their roster, which is really interesting. But so the overlap there is interesting, but it's just, especially because I'm from Arizona and I've seen, ASU's program over the years, like, even me, I'm like, I can't believe ASU is in this game. I can't believe ASU is here. And
Yeah.
and it's just true, because and it's awesome for them. I mean, it really is awesome. And it's awesome for Phoenix, and, everybody's excited about it. But that is the energy from them. It is like, we are excited to be here. We're going to live it up. And, they're out last night with the fans, interacting with the fans. Texas is not doing that. They're it's just a completely different dynamic. So I think that all stems from, like, they are the underdogs. They're going to live it up. They're here, so why not? And we'll see what happens.
You bring up such a good point. Like, when you talk about Texas and their defense, like, it's so hard. You can really make a great back look pedestrian if you have like that sideline to sideline speed, and you're going to be everywhere they turn. It's not even so much about getting blocked. It's like, these guys are so athletic, right? Like, they're just going to be everywhere.
Yeah, they are. And they have so many guys. I mean, you just look at their defense from top to bottom, and the backups too, and the guys they're going to start next year. They're just loaded, and they're so good at defending the run. And it's just kind of what they hang their hats on this year too. I mean, Sark is an offensive guy, but this defense has really kept them in this whole season through a lot of, offensive kind of struggles, some injuries, things like that. It's been the defense that's been so solid. And so I think that probably, again, is the biggest piece to this game. And I'm not saying Cam Scatterbo is not amazing. He is electric to watch. But I just think that Texas has more guys that they're just not going to let him do that. I don't think they're not going to let him do what he usually does.
Darby, you're making me. All of a sudden, I want a score prediction out of you, but I know that's off the table. So, all right, let's get to the quarterback situation in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the heck's going on there? You have 2 5-star blue chip, but Quinn Ewers, I guess, has been looking extra human recently. What's the boots on the ground vibe around that?
Yeah. I think Quinn has done a great job this year. I really think he has. He had, when you look around, I mean, he lost Xavier Worthy to the NFL. He lost a lot of guys last year, and they've had to reload and figure things out. And so I think, it's him, and it's some solid weapons, and running backs have been up and down, and one of the best running backs this year came from Waco, actually. So there was that connection. But it's been Quinn and the what's going on this year, and I think he's done a great job. I mean, we talked about that a lot this morning, that he really has led the charge for this offense. And does he make some throws he shouldn't? Has he made some plays that he'd like to have back? 100%. But when you look at it, they've only lost to Georgia, so they've won, and he's done a great job. I think the hard part is that Arch Manning and the last name Manning is what's on the bench. Like, it is
Yeah.
what it is. And he may be all world next year, and that will be great for the Texas fans to see and whatever, but no one would be asking for the backup as much if it wasn't, the whole thing behind it. So it's an interesting dynamic there, because I don't know if Texas fans are appreciating Quinn as much as they should for while he's here, and we don't know exactly what he's going to do next year. Probably going to be gone, whether that's NFL or transferring or whatever, but that's kind of still TBD. But, he's now taken them to the playoffs 2 years in a row. I mean, he's just done a lot of great things for them. So it's been interesting to see that, and see the fan base and the way they've kind of handled him and stuff. Is just, it's what Texas,
I love
comes
your
with the
point, though.
territory.
If that's not Manning on the back of his jersey, the conversation's probably a little different. And then also the backup quarterback is always the most popular quarterback in town, a guy in
100%.
town,
Yeah.
so we're at a crossroads here where it's like, I look where they are, and look, they're a favorite. I don't know. I would like to see Arizona State do well, just affiliation with the Big 12.
Right.
But
Right.
I think it is a tough road to hoe. What you mentioned something I find really interesting, because only you could break it down because you're there. There's a different feel around the Sun Devils. Hey, this is awesome. We're here. And that's kind of, look, they've been kind of three wide and winging it all year long. Why would you change now, right? That's who they are. Texas, I wonder, is there any sense of pressure around this? Because now you're right there.
Yeah.
They're
I think
right
that's
there.
fair. I think that's fair. But I think both teams are going to tell you they want to win. But I think Texas, like, they are not expecting. They are moving on in their minds. Like, there's no doubt. And I think Arizona State, like, it's the same thing, I'm sure, but it just feels different. It feels like the truth. One team has been here before, one team hasn't, and that's kind of the way it is. And I think there's positive and negatives to being on both sides, because ASU, they're going to go in there and do play loose, and that is kind of like, even just Kenny's energy is like that, and that's it's fun, like, it's a lot of fun, and Texas is, it's just different. I think there are different, not different expectations, but it's just the operation is definitely different, and that stems from just kind of the reality of where these programs are at heading into this one.
All right, a couple more things before I let you out of here. I know you got a busy day. Have you seen anybody from Arizona that or you worked with where you're just like, oh my gosh, like, that's got to be pretty cool for you?
Yeah, so this morning we got an hour with the Texas crew, an hour with the Arizona State crew, and I saw one of the guys. So he was a head coach I went to Pinnacle High School, which is in Phoenix, and Saguaro High School is a school that's not far away, and they were very solid. They won like 7 state championships or something. Like, they've been rolling for a while. But the head coach, when they were really doing well, he got hired on by ASU. And I saw him this morning because he used to take my mom's Orange Theory classes. And so we had a connection there, and I was like, I got to say hi. And he was like, how's your mom? And is she still coaching at this location and whatever? So, and then I think people were like, why is Darby talking to this assistant? Whatever. So, it's kind of funny.
That's the best,
it's a
though.
small world.
Those are the cool. That's even deeper than I thought you would go. Like, a personal family connection. That's beyond work. All right. So this game tomorrow, like, ramping up. Now, it's funny because as you collect these experiences throughout your career, you've now covered a lot of huge events. I mean, you were at that you were at the Final Four by yourself in Indianapolis, which was just like the all-time probably weirdest event you've ever covered. You've done Sugar Bowls, national championships, and now you're back out here for a college football playoff. Where does this rank on just the intensity and because the playoff, you can say whatever you want about it. It's awesome. Like it's win or go home tomorrow.
Yeah, it is win or go home. I don't know where it ranks as far as like stuff I've covered, but I will say the difference in when we were here for the SEC championship versus this trip, it is so different. And I expect to feel that in the stadium. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what it was about that Georgia-Texas game, but they both knew they were going to live to see another day.
Yeah.
Obviously, they wanted to win a championship, but it was like, okay, but then what? I don't know. It's just different. And so now I do think there's more energy and there's more at stake. And it is cool. It's cool to witness a playoff run, the first year that it's set up like this and witness the history. I actually didn't get to go to the game that they hosted because I was covering high school state championships, which I also love.
Yeah.
But that was such a unique, historic event that they had a game there, and then for them to be able to win and move on. And so the path is different. It's causing coaches to kind of restructure, like, okay, we're going to do that this week. And just how long they've been playing football at this point is going to be, amazing. And if they get to come back to Atlanta for a third trip, it's going to be, quite a long season. So I just think that the energy is probably going to feel very different. And it does feel, it feels pretty cool as far as stuff that I've gotten to cover. It feels very, historic. So, which it is. So it's cool.
Does it feel stable? And the reason I say that, because just, last week, Penn State and SMU, like there's transfer portal stuff around that game and what's going on. I'm not getting that feeling from this game at all. Like it feels like maybe the further we get down the road, there's going to be less of that, but it feels like everybody's there. Nobody's leaving right now. And it is pedal to the metal.
Yeah, nobody's opting out at halftime and stuff. Yeah, no, it definitely is. Well, this game matters 100%. And so there's no talk about, of course, people are asking, like they're asking Arch, what are your plans for next year? They're asking Quinn. There's all that, but no one's saying anything. It is 100%. We're trying to win this game and then see what happens from there. And on ASU side too, I mean, they're very locked in, and this was what Kenny Dillingham sold them on. And so now they're here and they're ready to make it happen too. So yeah, it is interesting. Like, and we could talk about, that's a whole other thing as far as if the playoff setup is stable. Like, I don't know, but at least these teams definitely, I think moving on, we're going to see a little less nonsense and a little bit more trying to win a championship.
All right, help me out here. Last one. So I'm in Tucson. First Big 12 game ever in the history of Arizona. They're 6-5 this year. I feel like this community, though, is like very much behind the Wildcats. Like I get a different vibe.
Pete.
Yeah.
ASU, U of A basketball is elite, and it always has been. I went to a couple games when I was in high school because I was actually thinking of going to school there, and yeah, their basketball games are pretty fun, and people are. The community is locked in. It's very like it goes beyond just the students, and it is people are really into it. So I think you'll have a great time. That's cool to witness the transition.
I'm pumped. I feel like a sense of responsibility. I was honestly like thinking about it, and when you start to get like almost a little nervous, I was like, okay, shut that off. Because I'm like, wow, this is kind of like a sense of responsibility. Like they're going to be seeing this Big 12 packaged item, like, hey, welcome to the Big 12. A lot of the Pac-12 stuff is on Fox, so it's different.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's a cool opportunity for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're going to crush it. And you will enjoy it. And it is, Arizona basketball is an elite, like it is elite. So you'll see that.
All right. What's the rest of your day look like?
So I'm going to go downstairs and work on some stuff that we just filmed, kind of put together a story, kind of talking about the receivers, like kind of we're talking about Quinn and his receiver crew and kind of what they've been going through this year. And then we'll be live at 6 and 10 and then turning around a special for tomorrow. And so, yeah, the work is.
What are the call letters? I know you're the Fox affiliate. What's.
No, CBS. So CBS. So
right.
it's CBS Austin and it's KEYE.
All right. There she is.
AI.
Darby Brown. And no score prediction, which we love about Darby. No.
Yeah, no score prediction. I honestly, like, I'm with you. I hope it's a good game. I
Me
hope it's a
too.
good game. I think that'd be fun. So yeah,
How does Mojo like Austin life? Like he's been there for a while, but is he chilling?
he's doing great. You know, he gets a little bit extra attention with my boyfriend around more, so he's happy there, and he's doing great. So